warm-ups don't need to be too extensive, but what they do need to be is effective. So this could actually be a new series on the channel, and tickle me this. We're tickling the idea of looking at some popular creators, let's say Caroline for example, whoever it may be, looking at their most popular video and kind of reviewing and assessing it and kind of giving my opinion on why I believe that video was most popular, the good things about it, and maybe things that could be improved and things to kind of consider based off the topic of that popular video. So it wasn't actually my idea, it was actually my friend's idea. I thought it was a really good one. So we're going to tickle that now. Also, to clarify, obviously we are looking at Caroline for the first one because there's a reason why, and something I actually want to address. I actually get a lot of messages about Caroline saying, Harry, do you know where she is? I honestly do not know. I'm assuming she's doing some personal business stuff, maybe making an app or something like that. Those are things I've just heard on the grapevine. But obviously I have no direct communication to Caroline. I have no idea where she is, but she is probably doing something that is likely going to benefit you guys in the future. Obviously it's disappointing and a bit upsetting sometimes that she hasn't uploaded a video for 5 months now, I believe. But you know what? She's got to prioritize herself, got to do what's best for her, and hopefully she's going to come back with more things for you guys to benefit from. Caroline's most viewed video is actually an interesting one, and one that caught me off guard. It's a 5-minute full body warm-up. I didn't really expect this to be the most popular one. She's got some absolutely banging videos on her channel. I'm just surprised that this is at the top. So obviously we're not gonna have sound on because again, YouTube, any kind of music. So the thing I want to address firstly is the warm-ups. Again, warm-ups is something I definitely skip over when talking about stuff in general on my channel, but I think this is maybe a good opportunity to actually speak about warm-ups and why they're important and what you should probably do. Again, I'm going to go based on the context of resistance training, so lifting weights for any reason, and ultimately warming up is going to be important because again, you need to get your body ready for the activity it's going to be performing. Again, this goes beyond lifting weights, this goes into kind of all facets of fitness. You cannot expect to start from standstill and suddenly run a marathon. You need to get the blood flowing around the body, you need to increase your internal body temperature, and you need to make sure that everything is loose and ready to go. Like with the car, when you get in the car, it's a cold winter morning, you've just got in the car, it's iced over. You're not going to go from a frozen car essentially to accelerating full speed, give you the beans straight away. No, you're going to let the car warm up, let the oil start flowing, get everything going before you can start maybe pushing the power limits a bit harder because it is warmed up and ready to do so. Because if you don't warm the car up properly, the risk of something going wrong or a component of the engine perhaps failing is likely going to be higher. And the same thing applies to your body. If you do not warm up thoroughly and effectively, the risk of something going wrong and maybe an injury occurring or something similar is likely going to be high. And there's also a consideration that if you don't warm up properly, you actually may not necessarily be as strong because you're not primed and ready for the movements you're about to perform. So you could actually be negatively impacting your performance if you neglect to warm up. Do I think a warm up needs to be a really extensive process? Again, depending on what you're doing, but for most people who are looking to work out, probably not. I think what Caroline's doing here is fantastic. When it comes to warming up, especially for resistance training, what we really want to do is prioritize moving. So we're looking at dynamic stretches, mobility, things like that where you're moving. And again, with dynamic stretches, we typically consider a few things where we'll start with a range of motion. Let's say we're doing like a dynamic pec stretch. Each rep, we're probably going to push that stretch a bit further. Again, never beyond your limitations in your natural range of motion, but maybe start a bit conservative and push it a bit further each time. Things like that, because again, you're easy into it. You can't expect your body to be ready to go through its full range of motion just like that, because again, you have to warm up. And doing dynamic stretches like Caroline is doing now, where she's going through the range of motion she's likely going to be going through against resistance in the future, is such a great idea, because not only are you priming yourself for the movements ahead, so she's priming herself for the squat, you're also avoiding taking your muscles through any kind of direct static stretching, which is stretching without movement, where you're just holding a stretch position for, let's say, 15 seconds, because it's actually been suggested that that may negatively impact your performance if you were to static stretch before a resistance-based hypertrophy workout. So again, doing things like this where you're kind of taking the muscles that are going to be working through a good range of motion is definitely a big yes. Again, warm-ups don't need to be too extensive, but what they do need to be is effective. And I think effectiveness really is very much subjective to the individual and their goals and the workout they're about to engage in or perform. With Caroline here, she's obviously going through a movement or a range of motion where she's looking at working her quads, getting them warm up. She's looked at her shoulders earlier. She's getting her adductors warm. She's now getting her glutes and whatnot warm. She's getting the ankles moved. She's doing the things that you need to do to warm up, which is essentially getting as many relevant and necessary body parts moving and ready for movement. But I would probably say there's probably more credit in maybe warming up your shoulders and other body parts or muscle groups that are going to be involved in the movements you're likely going to perform later on. Although we want to increase like the internal / core body temperature as a whole, we would ideally want to do so through ranges of motions and movements that are going to be applicable applicable or relevant to the session ahead. But I think her movement section is absolutely fine. I think realistically, I don't think warming up needs to be that complex. Again, depending on the individual and their goals. Obviously, if you're an athlete and you're looking at performing a specific sport for competitive reasons, you probably have to warm up a bit more thoroughly and a bit more meticulously. But for people who are just looking to work out, essentially what you are trying to do is any kind of movement that takes the relevant muscle groups or body parts through a range of motion that gets them mobile, moving and warm. Ideally, a range of motion you're likely going to be replicating throughout the session. Again, not necessary. It would be nice. Like if I do some shoulder swings, I'm probably not going to be doing that throughout the session, but what I might be doing throughout the session will be some front raises, maybe some presses where the upper arm is still moving in a somewhat similar manner, therefore it's quite a relevant warm-up. So I think that's fine. I don't think you can really critique a warm-up too much. Essentially what it comes down to is, are they moving, are they getting you warm, and are they targeting the muscle groups and body parts that you're likely going to be using? If the answer is yes to those things, then it's probably fine. And obviously, I've got to throw out there, the TFNL Growth Guide and the TFNL Community Coaching is, as always, linked below in the description and also in the comment section. The community coaching is very much a means of me making programs for you guys, for you to follow as a community or individually if you would rather, and to keep me updated with how things are going and to ask me questions on the message board so we can kind of track your progress together and work towards your goals together as a team, as a community. And the Growth Guide is, in my opinion, one of the best fitness resources on the market. That includes 30 weeks of programming written by myself and Ryder, and it's just a bloody good time, which again, both of them are always linked down below in the description and maybe even the comment section too. Regarding why I think this video is probably one of Caroline's more popular videos is because I think warming up is something that a lot of people do look at online. Obviously, looking at workouts online is definitely going to be something people are exploring, but you can isolate that into different areas, like you look at upper body workout, lower body workout, arm workout, leg workout, whereas a full body warm up is something that could apply to all of those things. So again, the potential pool of potential consumers may be greater and more people may be looking at full body warm ups, especially those who are looking at engaging in these home workouts where they don't have access to direct cardio equipment like a treadmill, like a rower, things like that, to engage in low intensity steady state for 5 or so minutes, where they are looking to warm up at home with their body weight. I think that probably contributes to why this video is so popular. And also the other consideration is, when did this video get released? This video was released in September 21, 2020. We're all aware of what happened in 2020. Many of us, if not all of us, were at home, and many of us were still engaging in home workouts because gyms were likely going to be closed during this period and were also closed for a period after this. Therefore, workouts and warm-ups within the home environment were very popular during that time, which I believe is kind of around the similar time that Caroline was really booming in the fitness industry, because there was a big market and big demand for those types of workouts and for these types of videos, and there wasn't a mass amount of high quality supply. So Caroline came in at a great time with some quality workouts, some quality information, and gave them to the people who really needed them when they really needed it. That probably explains why this video is her most popular, and also probably contributes to the boom of her workouts later on, because again, this got a lot of traction, a lot of views, which probably would have brought in quite a lot of subscribers, which probably would have then stayed and hung around because they would have seen how great Caroline's workouts were afterwards. Regarding what I think could be improved, I don't think anything is ever perfect. I think something can always be improved, but in this context where it's a 5-minute full body warm up, I don't think anything maybe needs to be improved. If I really wanted to be nitpicky and try and find something for the sake of finding something, I'd probably say it would be good to get a bit more information, verbal information, where Caroline, she would maybe explain what she's doing and why she's doing it, to maybe kind of delve into the benefits of the movement she's looking to perform for her warm-up. Again, she obviously expands on things in the description to an extent, but it's always nice to hear that verbally to maybe just give a bit more context and information. But beyond that and the movements itself, I don't really think warm-ups can be heavily critiqued, because again, provided it's ticking the boxes I mentioned earlier, you're probably doing a good job. So I back it, I support it. You know my thoughts on Caroline. You know I think she's a fantastic creator and probably my preferred home workout creator, because she's very much a fan of resistance training. And although I don't necessarily agree with everything she's done and everything she does, in the grand scheme of things, we very much do align. And I often do recommend people look at Caroline when they are in the market for a new home workout creator to follow. But now we're actually going to very quickly crack on with comment question of the week. How much time should be spent on the workouts daily? I know you mentioned once 10 minutes is not enough, obviously, but what's the minimum that should work? All I say is I don't think there's a minimum amount of time you should be spending on a workout. I think essentially you need to work out for as long as you need to work out to achieve what you need to achieve. If you only have 10 minutes to work out, then 10 minutes is probably the amount of time you should be spending on working out, because you can't do more than that, and something is always better than nothing. I think if you only have 5 minutes, then 5 minutes is enough. I think if you have an hour, then you can certainly use an hour, but you don't necessarily need an hour. I think you need to identify your goals and put together a plan. How long is it going to take you to achieve those things in the workout? And that's probably how long you should work out for. Again, it very much comes down to working out for as long as you need to work out to achieve what you need to achieve. Again, my workouts personally probably hover around, I'd say on average, maybe the hour and 15, hour and a half mark. I don't like working out for longer than that personally because I've got things to do. I'm busy, I've got a life. But I know people who work out for 3 hours. I also know people who experience incredible results working out for half an hour, 45 minutes. I know people who experience results working out for less than that, more than that. Again, it really does depend on the person. I don't think there's a right or wrong in this case. It's just doing what is best for you, for you. That is it. That is the video. Thank you for tolerating me. Thank you for tolerating my endless waffle about things I probably don't need to waffle about. And thank you for tolerating the video.